Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 199th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing well, Cam. How are you?
I'm doing fine. 199 episodes.
Yeah. Seems kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Few years worth of content behind us.
Some of it good, I hope.
Some okay.
But we've had our moments.
We can stop there. Yeah, it's been fun. Well, let's not get too nostalgic, because episode 200 is next week.
True.
That's the time to do that.
Yeah, save the pleasantries for next week.
Basically, we've got one giant visit weekend to talk about for Mizzou Football, and it's pretty exciting. Lots of big-time recruits in town. Before we get to all of that, though, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Leave us a review on the podcast platform you use, and, of course, you can support the podcast directly on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Shout out to all of our patrons over there right now. They are about to be receiving this really cool t-shirt, exclusive, not available in the shop. Here it is.
Like literally, producer Cameron's wearing
Producer
it.
Cameron's wearing it.
Cam's a little closer.
There it is.
But yeah, hold it up anyway.
And here it is. You got to check it out on YouTube to see what we're talking about here. It's a nice tiger head with the lightning bolt welcome in his mouth. And a little MSP lightning bolt on the sleeve.
Mm-hmm. Producer Cameron, great job with the shirt. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
Original design completely by him.
And that's what you get.
Yeah, very
That's
cool.
what you get.
That's what you get.
In the Patreon. What, every 6 months.
Yes.
You get some kind of merch.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Back in December, we sent out flags like this one on the table. Now here in June, we're sending out this shirt. So sign up for that. You'll be getting something Christmas time.
And hopefully producer Cameron stays churning out great content and great designs. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so those are not going to be available in the store. We might throw some stickers with that design on it in the store so you can get a taste. But, you know, these Patreon items are exclusive. Just us and our supporters will have them. Anything else, Kyle, before we just jump right in here?
How'd you sleep last night?
Okay. We're in a routine where Olivia starts out in her bed, and then at some point she wakes up and refuses to lay back down in her bed. So she just comes and cuddles up next to us, and she's usually good for another 5 or 6 hours at that point. So still interrupted sleep going on, but
Do you still recommend having children and stuff like that to everybody?
you know, I'm enjoying it.
Good.
It's not for everyone at every time in one's life. So
Sounds like a ringing endorsement.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to anybody.
She's great.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say that it's just all perfect things all the time. But none of the negatives outweigh just her waking up and smiling at you and stuff.
Of course.
Let's talk about these visitors. The Summit is what this weekend is being called, and it is a bunch of class of 2023 guys. Well, actually, there was some 2024 recruits on campus recently, or they're about to be.
Yeah, within the last couple of days.
So maybe we'll get to those guys first and then get into the meat of this coming weekend.
Yeah, for sure. There were a few guys on campus, notably, I think some in the 2024 class and some in the 25 class, which is absolutely insane that we're talking about anything in the year 2025 as being remotely close, but a couple 2024 guys that are like pretty notable that I just wanted to bring up was Melvin Laster. He's a linebacker from Kansas City, and he's going to be pretty highly touted for sure. 2024 linebacker, if I didn't say that. And then Anais Williams is a 2024 running back from Hannibal, Missouri. I saw some pictures of these guys on Twitter, and obviously Melvin Laster, man, he looks ready to contribute already, and he was standing in front of most of them were taking pictures kind of in front of the south end zone, and like it looked like the photographer was kind of like on the ground maybe, and you could see like the sky and just the magnitude of the south end zone. It just looked really, really cool, and I love that. I love that addition to the stadium. I think it's awesome.
Laster is a 4-star recruit, and Williams is a 3-star recruit. But some in-state guys that's worth keeping tabs on.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the gem of the 2024 class, especially in-state, is Ryan Wingo, top 5 player in the country, number 1 in the state of Missouri. There's, it used to be, I feel like not every single year, looking back, had like a top tier guy in state, and then like half a dozen 4-stars that were worth going after. More recently, it feels like the state of Missouri has just reloaded with D1 talent every single year.
Yeah.
And we're coming off a big year for in-state guys in 2022, and it's right there again in 2023, and then top 5 guy in the country, and then a really deep in-state class right there again in 2024.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is kind of interesting. It seems like, I feel like we talk about the Tiger 10 year a lot, but that would have been 2017, and at the time, that seemed like one of the best high school classes ever, maybe, or in the modern era of recruiting for in-state, guys. That was just like, oh my gosh, we have got to figure out how to get these guys on campus. And since then, it seems like we've had multiple classes that are probably right up there or even better with that class. And then, of course, looking back, we've talked about this multiple times also, that class didn't even end up being that great when those guys got to college. But
I feel like part of that was the Mizzou coaching staff making that a thing for the recruiting
that's probably true.
Reasons.
It was like seemed like magnified in our minds because they were making it a thing.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
possible.
not to say that there weren't,
Right.
You still needed that many guys of that caliber to even entertain something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if the fans on their own would have, come to that conclusion. It kind of, and the football staff definitely made an effort to get those guys on campus at the same time, multiple times, and link them together. Obviously, the strategy there was if you can get a few of them on board, then maybe you'll get all of them or something. But Laster and Williams, those guys, and then there's 5 others in 2024 that I hope the Mizzou staff is on early and starting to make those relationships, because there's lots of 4-star guys in that class.
And you just mentioned the domino effect in recruiting. That didn't happen for us in the Tiger 10 year, but that's absolutely a thing. It happened with Luther Burden for sure. There was kind of a Missouri is a serious contender now for recruiting and stuff. So if they can get Ryan Wingo on board or something like that, that would just be huge. And that's a pretty familiar last name with Mizzou in the last 5 years or so, and it seems like Missouri has really done a good job building relationships with him early on. So I think they'll be in there with him to the end, probably.
All right. So then moving to 2023 and the recruits that will be on campus this coming weekend. You take it away any order that you want.
Yeah, I've kind of had this date circled on the calendar for a while now, because it just seemed like this was going to be the week that they had a lot of big guys on campus at the same time. I don't know if they ended up getting as many guys on campus as they had originally planned, but it's still a huge recruiting weekend.
Well, let's mention real quick who's not coming that we know.
Yeah.
That we would have liked to have seen there. Off the top of my head, Jeremiah Love is probably the number one guy that most likely will not be in attendance because he'll be on a official visit to Alabama.
Which is understandable. I mean, he's been to Missouri probably tens of times, and he was on campus like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And when you have an opportunity to go to Alabama, you just go. And so I'm not too worried. I guess, it does seem like that's more of an uphill battle than it was a few months ago, but I'm not worried about that specific change in plans, I guess, that he's going to Alabama.
Anybody else that that isn't able to make it that you wish you could see?
I don't know, really, off the top of my head. I can't think of too many guys that they're missing out on that I had hoped to see. I mean, some of the cornerstone recruits of Missouri are going to be here this weekend. So, and it may be guys that Missouri is kind of a little bit behind on anyway. So it's a chance for them to maybe make one last pitch before these guys commit. So, have you seen that some people on Twitter have been tweeting like countdowns for this weekend and stuff? I think I saw Nathaniel Pete maybe tweeted one yesterday or something like that. So I think it's fun when the coaching staff kind of gets the current players like involved in recruiting and stuff like that, and kind of just building hype for the weekend. But okay, we'll start off on the list of guys that will be here, and not here, but will be on campus
here in this studio.
Yeah, that'd be cool. This weekend, and obviously two guys right off the top of the list that you've heard us talk about time and time again, but both offensive linemen from Missouri. The first one's Caden Green, and he's from Lee Summit North, and this guy is 6'5", 310 already. And I saw some pictures of him recently on a visit somewhere else, and he just looks exactly like you would picture like a stud offensive tackle. He's just built for exactly what he's going to do in college, and he's going to be a great player, I think, no matter where he goes. Seems like an Oklahoma lean right now. I don't think Missouri's out of it, but he's taken some pretty big visits recently to LSU, and it just seems like Oklahoma is a landing spot. But I think he's committing next month. Missouri's got his last visit, so
got some work to do though.
Got some work, but hey, that's never a bad thing to get the last visit. He is friends with current Mizzou player Armand Mbao. They played together at Lee Summit North, both offensive linemen, so I guess they've got that connection going for him too. Second guy, again, you've heard this name a lot, is Logan Reichert. This guy is 6'7", 345 as a high school senior from Raytown. And if Missouri is going to land a top recruit, it seems like it's going to probably be Reichert, and I'm not guaranteeing that, but I think it seems to be down between Missouri and Oregon at this point. And Oregon seems like maybe kind of a random destination, but I think that Oregon's got a guy on their staff that he has a connection with. And so that might be definitely – Oregon's got some pull.
They've been making him a priority as well.
Yeah, so I think he visited recently. So what seemed like a shoe-in for Missouri maybe at one point and earlier in this recruiting process is probably less so now, but I still think that they're right there, maybe still the favorite to land Reichert.
He's a 4-star offensive lineman,
Next guy was kind of a late addition to the weekend, and it was kind of a splash, was 4-star Marvin Burks, and he is 6'2", 190. He's a safety from Cardinal Ritter, and I think that's a pretty big deal. I mean, Missouri has not recruited St. Louis super well historically with highly rated players, especially it seems like Cardinal Ritter in particular. It seems like they have struggled to recruit guys from that school, so that's a big deal. It seems like the NIL opportunity is pretty big, maybe in this recruitment specifically. So that's definitely something to watch.
24/7 Sports has a prediction of him to Ole Miss.
Yeah. All right, next guy on the list is 4-star wide receiver Joshua Manning. He is 6'2", 195 from Lee Summit. I think he just came off of a visit to Arkansas last weekend, maybe. So it looks like the other contenders in that recruitment are Nebraska, Kansas State, Iowa State, and then obviously Arkansas.
Some
regional powers to defend against. But
That's kind of like a classic recruiting battle right there. Kind of throwback.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a while since we've been in recruiting battles with some of those schools.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, we were like every recruit was like Nebraska,
Kansas
Iowa
State,
for sure.
Now it's like Oklahoma, Notre Dame,
which I guess
we were always losing guys to those teams, like in-state recruits, but it was almost like we never even had a chance, so don't even worry about it.
Exactly. I mean, I guess it's a good thing that we are. Seems like obviously Drinkwitz has put us in a different class in recruiting, but we're recruiting against some different competition now.
Yeah, but seeing Nebraska, like on 24/7 Sports, seeing like the Missouri Tiger logo next to the Nebraska and Kansas State, Iowa State logos in recruiting, immediately transports me back to like Gary Pinkel era, Big 12 days.
Mm-hmm. All right, so those are kind of the main, like, well, I guess there's a couple more that I'll get to, but one kind of under-recruited guy that's on campus is Nicholas Deloach. I think that's how you say that. And he's 6'1", 170. He's a wide receiver. I don't know if he has a star rating on some of the recruiting services, but he just got offered recently from a camp that he was at, and his other main offers right now are Northern Illinois and Northern Iowa. So definitely seems like if Missouri wants to make this guy a priority, they can definitely do that.
Mm. What's the deal with the wide receivers? We've just been stockpiling them, but also just every recruiting class has in-state wide receivers that are like worth pursuing.
Right.
Multiple. I don't know. It's just like it's a good spot to be in, but at the same time, I'm a selfish fan, and I just kind of wish that the desire to come to Mizzou could be spread around to more position groups sometimes.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit inconsistent, especially with like the caliber of player, at least in the recruiting services.
Yeah,
like that they're going after, because it's like top 3 player in the country, Luther Burden, and random, like, no offense, like JUCO player that we landed recently that are basically in the same class now.
Yeah,
like a wide range of caliber of player that seems like they're going after in the wide receiver room. Seems like there's a lot of guys in the wide receiver room right now, so but some talented young guys for sure. Okay, and then the last guy on the list is Amir Herring, and he is a 4-star offensive lineman, and this is an interesting case. This might be one of the bigger recruits to follow this weekend specifically, because it seems like his recruitment's kind of coming down to it, and Missouri's right there in the running, but they're going to be against Michigan. Michigan's probably the biggest player they're up against right now, and but he's 6'3", 280, has a commitment date of July 7th, so that's a couple weeks away. I think Missouri's his last visit. I think he's been to Michigan recently, but it seems like Michigan's maybe been playing some games with him a little bit, and maybe not sure if they have room for him, but it sounds like if they do have room, that's probably where he's going to end up potentially. So definitely one to watch, and Missouri's going to give him the best pitch they've got this weekend and see what happens.
He's got 6 crystal ball predictions on 24/7 Sports. 100% of them are to Michigan.
Okay. Yeah, that's,
but
I mean,
6 out of 10 medium, what's it called? Confidence.
Okay. Yeah, that seems consistent, like with like what I'm thinking is the situation where it's kind of up to Michigan on whether or not they take him, and they've got a lot of resources. They got a lot of highly recruited guys that they could probably take right now. So
imagine Missouri being in a situation where there's a 4-star, like in-state top 300 4-star offensive lineman, and he like most likely would commit in a heartbeat, and Missouri's like, just hold on a second, like, you know,
must be nice.
Yeah, gosh. So lots of big names. Are we on? We're not really on commitment watch this weekend, are we? For anybody?
You never know. Definitely, I think Nicholas Deloach could commit if they gave him the green light to do so. As far as like immediately, probably not, but you never know. Mm-hmm. And I think this is kind of an interesting recruiting class. It seems like last year we were really busy this time of year with like all kinds of names and stuff, and so it seems a little quieter.
All kinds of people named Luther Burden.
That too, and but more guys on visits and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's still, we're early in the summer, but I do think this class will probably be a little smaller. I think because of the COVID year, there's just like this kind of, there's a lot of older guys that are still on the team, and the rosters are a little bit bigger, and so just less turnover probably this year than in a normal year. And so I think this class will end up being smaller than a normal class. So they've got to be selective with who they land, because there's less spots, the less chances to take flyers on guys and stuff. So that may be obviously kind of what Michigan's experiencing too.
Right.
So got to make sure you feel a certain way about guys. So.
What do you think? I saw some people talking about this online recently. What do you think about these in-state recruits taking, not using an official visit coming to Mizzou, using their 5 official visits for schools that they wouldn't be able to go visit otherwise, and then taking 5 or 6 unofficial visits to Mizzou?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. You could look at it from a positive way, that they feel comfortable at Missouri, and it's like the place they have been to several times and feel comfortable there. And
it's like, oh, you got a free weekend? Let's go to Columbia.
Exactly. And so I think that's a good thing. But, in some ways it does kind of seem like, well, now we'll take our real visits to the big boys. And so, that may just be me as a biased fan perceiving that in the wrong way. But yeah, I think you could probably perceive it that way too. So I don't know. It may just be on an individual case. Yeah,
and the thing is, I feel like the way you have to look at it is, Missouri is rarely going to be in the position where like a 4-star from Michigan is, using his unofficial visits at Michigan, and then Mizzou is one of those official visits for this highly touted out-of-state player. Those kids are going to do exactly what the Missouri kids are doing. They're going to go to Oklahoma and Alabama and Notre Dame and, Miami for their official visits, because those are schools that are obviously really good at football historically, and they are a place where you want to go on vacation and want to see the red carpet rolled out for you.
And meet the coaches,
like
those legendary coaches and stuff. Yeah, I get it.
You want to have that whole experience.
Sure.
And
when you're 18 years old, you just want to experience fun things. You want to be wanted. And
then, some of them will still take an official visit to Missouri, but I don't know. I would rather those guys be in state and have that connection just from being in their backyard. I feel like that's obviously the only thing giving us a shot at some of these guys,
Yeah.
So I would take that over them, living in the state of Alabama and getting an official visit to Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Although it makes me wonder, what the staff is able to do on an official visit versus unofficial. I know that they're paying for the visit and stuff. I know how all of that works, but can they still kind of roll out the red carpet once they pay their own way to get to campus for the weekend? I don't know how that kind of works.
Official visits, they're probably buying them dinner and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't really know some of those key differences. But obviously, you'd think an official visit it's a little more formal, maybe a little more planned out.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I'm down for the in-state guys just to get on campus and hang out anytime.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Jeremiah Love did recently. Let's see. So, big picture for the class of 2023, how do you see it stacking up to 2022 as far as keeping the ball rolling and maybe even fan expectations? You said maybe they won't take quite as many players, but are we still looking at maybe a little bit of a disappointment compared to last year?
You see, that's the thing with sports, where it's difficult to always one-up yourself, and I think fans kind of get that, and I'm including us in this, where once it happens once, we expect it to happen every year. And, we had probably our best recruiting class ever last year. I don't think that this year is going to stack up to that numbers-wise, like rank-wise maybe. But, the quantity of guys that are in this class will probably be less as well. But I still think in the grand scheme of things of what Missouri has done historically in recruiting, this class will stack up well. We already have a couple 4-star guys on board. I think Missouri will land at least 2 or 3 more 4-star players. Are well positioned with some big guys, and we haven't always been able to say that, even in the last 5-10 years at times. So I'm still excited, and it might be, I don't know if I would use the word disappointing, but maybe just it may not make as much noise as last year. But Missouri has an opportunity to try and fill some needs and be really selective with who they get. And so far, I don't know how many guys we have committed. It's like 3 or 4 maybe. Mm-hmm. But I like all those guys that are on board, and I don't know. 5 total, 1 unranked, but Norfleet, Jabari Johnson, Ja'Kai Lang, those are kind of, and Marquise Johnson, those are the ones that are ranked in the class of 2023 already. Right.
So I mean,
3 of those 4 guys are already or 4-star players, and an out-of-state 4-star quarterback. And I think it's easy to just be like, oh man, like we landed Luther Burden last class. Like who's the Luther Burden of this class going to be? Yeah. And I think it's just probably not realistic that we're going to land a 5-star player every class, and have the chance to really fill some needs though.
Yeah, last year 24/7 had the final recruiting class at 18th in the country. The year before that was 30th,
which was like decent probably.
Yeah. It was definitely an improvement over the past 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. So if we're back around that 30-ish ranking, then we'd be expecting, again, something a little bit better than that, top 20, 25 range for 2024 probably. But, if we just keep in that 20 to 35 and, every other year is a little bit better, or every third year is just a dynamite class, we'll be just fine.
Right.
That's basically what Gary Pinkel did, except never quite had a class like the 2022 class.
Yeah, I think this will be a unique year, kind of with the COVID year, and every school kind of doing the balancing act right now of like all these upperclassmen that probably stuck around an extra year, and being able to stockpile some more transfers and stuff in the off season. I definitely think it's possible that these guys that we feel not so great about right now, it's very possible that they just don't have a spot on some of these teams they want to go to, and Missouri is right there, well positioned all the way to the end of the game. And I don't know if I could call out any specific players that could that could apply for, but I would just say this could be a year more so than normal that you just stick around until the end and see what happens with limited spots to go to.
Caden Green, Oklahoma won't want him, I bet.
That's why I don't want to say. I don't know if I would apply that to. I don't know if I want to say that for individuals, but it's very possible that some of these 4-star players that might normally be able to sneak in on a Alabama or something like that, there might not be a spot this year for something like that. So we'll see.
Missouri's got a spot.
They do.
Don't worry, it'll always be there for you. All right. Well, stay tuned. Next week we'll recap that visit. And next week, with the 200th episode, we'll be doing our Hot Wing Challenge. Still haven't quite figured out the format on that, but the only way you'll get to see that is if you subscribe on Patreon to the tier that gets you exclusive content.
We know we'll be in pain. We know that.
Yeah. We're not gonna we're gonna get some hot sauces up in here. If you think we're gonna take it if you think I'm gonna take it easy on Kyle and vice versa with the spice, ooh.
We'll be in pain together.
Yeah. All right. Well, special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keynes, and Tyler Harsel. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and new stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Yeah, restocking our original T-shirts.
Yes, that too.
Yeah,
We're going to have plenty, so go
Those
check
are
it out.
back in. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.